Hey guys, Planet Everything here, and today I'm going to be making a video on how to connect your MacBook Pro, like I think 2016 and up, it should work flawlessly, to an eGPU with an AMD card. So I personally have an AMD Radeon Vega 5056. Yeah, something like that. An AMD card. That's what this tutorial is for. If it's not, if you don't have an AMD card, well, chances are you probably don't have this issue. But if you do have an AMD card, this is going to be something you need to look at. So I have seen a lot of videos online about EFIs, connecting your computer up to an eGPU, booting up through a file called EFI, and then boom, it works. But unfortunately, now it doesn't work like that. I've tried, at least, and I've found a few sources that claim to have made it work, and I haven't actually tested them. So to be fair, not 100% sure if there is a working EFI boot up folder at this time. Now, what an EFI folder is made to do is, to start off, what an EFI folder is made to do is bridge the gap between Mac OS and Windows. So when you click the button on the EFI folder to go into that and boot up through it, it will eventually boot you into Windows, because you'll have to have selected your preferred startup OS to Windows. So what the EFI folder does is, when you click on it, it just boots up to the preferred OS, but it uses a file that you probably put in to keep your eGPU intact, so you won't have any problems bringing it onto the other software, and likely it will work well. Now, one problem with this, it kind of broke my last computer. Now, yes, there's a chance it didn't do this, and obviously it didn't do this. This is, I pulled the back off of it because it was toasted anyway. But it does end up actually damaging your computer in the long run, because using an EFI folder can, for some reason, really mess with your operating systems in general, even when it's not Mac, even when it's not Windows. So, for me at least, I had a black screen problem where you try to boot up to it, but the screen is just black in every way, and I actually tried all of the loopholes and things that were online about this Mac computer having a black screen problem, because I've heard that was an existing issue, but unfortunately none of those ended with me getting this computer to work, and it being severely broken. So now there is a chance, again, that the EFI did not cause that computer to break. However, there's also a way more simple way of doing this that will require no EFI, and you won't have to risk it. I don't know for sure if it did break that, but if it did, you don't have to risk it. So for me, at least, that's an easy decision to make when you're talking about a $2,600 computer that you likely don't want to repurchase, because you're doing something that could possibly void a warranty on Apple. So if you could just do it normally, you probably wouldn't be voiding it, and you definitely wouldn't be voiding any warranties, because you're actually only using Mac software to get this Windows operating system on. Wouldn't you do it? I would say so. So I'm going to tell you how to do that, and I'm going to do it as well as I possibly can. And if the comments work, because I've tried my best, but sometimes the comments do not work on videos. If the comments work, please put any questions you have as to how I did this into the comment section, and I will do my absolute best to answer them, especially for this video, because it takes me at least a full day to do this each time I want to put Windows on a MacBook, but run it through an eGPU. So, let me find the website. So, there is a website if you would like to find other ways, and if this doesn't work in the future, it could be also useful to have this resource, but it's called egpu.io/discussions, I think, /bootcamp, and I figure it's useful to have an actual video on the internet because a lot of people don't want to be reading through an article when they could follow a 20-minute tutorial online and get a possibly better result. Okay, so this person is named Mac Editor. I'm 100% using his setup, so I will link this article in the description. So if something I'm saying isn't working, you can look in here and find common breaks in the system and maybe look for a solution. So to start up, you're gonna need to download the first link in the description, which is an older version of Windows. Now what that will do for you is, for some reason, this version of Windows accepts an eGPU's presence without using an EFI. Now this is an older version of Windows again, and it will be quite useful to you in this process. You have to use this version. As far as I've heard or been told on this, at least, you have to do it. So download a copy of Windows 1903, and it's actually in small. It's technically called 18362.30, using the first link in the description. Now, once you've done that, set it up on the Apple Bootcamp, and you will likely be able to find many resources on the internet as to how you would like to do that. I partitioned my disk on my MacBook to 100 gigabytes, allowing for Windows to take up 100 gigabytes of my system, and Mac will not be allowed to touch that. So that's how Bootcamp works. So once you download this file, you can go into Bootcamp and you can select the I don't know the format of this file, but you can select the file that you downloaded in the description to put it into your Bootcamp. Once you've done that, you can continue onto your Bootcamp, everything like normal, set up your Windows system. You won't need to be doing anything extreme until after you've set up your Windows. Now this part was quite difficult for me. I did actually mess up once or twice on accident, so if you do have trouble with this, I'm sorry, it's hard. And this link will allow you to create access to something called Group Policy Editor, and that is essentially this program that you're going to be unlocking in Windows is going to allow you to stop Windows from changing the software that you put on your computer. So if there is a newer version of Windows, it will not update it. It will keep it on this Windows 1903 so that you won't have to update and then you won't end up accidentally messing up your eGPU setup. So this is a bulletproof, even with time plan. Now, once you've done that, click on Windows R and type in the Gpedit Msc, and that is going to open up a weird looking thing that has some old, outdated looking like computer images and things. Once you've gone to that, navigate to Local Computer Policy, which will be on the left-hand side. If you're looking at your screen, it'll be on the left-hand side of this window, and you'll click on it. It'll say local group policy. You might have to scroll up or down a little bit. This page does expand in all ways, and you might need to do that in order to see all the things. Once you have gotten to local computer policy, click on computer configuration, which I believe was to the right of it on the window, and then administrative templates, Windows components, Windows updates. Then once you found Windows updates, you right click on it, click on get info or something like that, and it will allow you to completely disable it. That's what you need to do, and you need to make sure that you do it exactly like I just said, so that you don't accidentally turn off something incorrect, which would be a problem because it will make it so you can't run Windows anymore on your computer. You have to restart this whole process. Anyway, now that you've done that, upgrade your Windows 1903 from the Microsoft Update Catalog to Windows 1903 18362.295. Now do this carefully because I struggled to do this. It took me a few times to look and find out which one was which, but in this Microsoft Update Catalog, there is one of them that has 16 bits and 64 bits, and it's not server compatible. You need to make sure you select that one, and it has to end with the numbers .295. Again, I would really suggest looking at this article. This is a video for people who just want to do it off of a video. It's going to be a little bit easier if you follow it off the article because I'm not able to repeat the process, unfortunately, because I've already done it, and as I was doing it, it's actually really difficult. So now that you've done that, this is the part that the website doesn't cover quite as well. Go on to a website called bootcampdrivers.com, and once you've gotten there, go into the top right corner and click on the most updated file you can find, and that will likely work for your Mac. Now, it's possible this won't work the first time, and if it doesn't, then you should go back and find a different version. It really doesn't matter which version you have. As long as it's somewhat within the last year, you'll probably be okay. So you click on the driver, and then you download it. You might have to download Google Chrome onto your Windows if you haven't already done that, or whatever. But once you download that file that says boot, it is a driver for an AMD processor or graphics card, then you will end up with a file with a bunch of different things on it. You're gonna see a bunch of different files, and one of them is gonna say install installation. You're not gonna want to click that, not quite yet. You're gonna want to go to DDU, the DDU folder. Once you double click on that, it'll create another folder. It'll unzip another folder and create an actual folder that says DDU. Once you see that folder, double click on it and then boot into safe mode. Now, how you do that is go into settings, privacy and security. You go into settings, recovery, and then when it says restart this PC, I think it says somewhere on I think it's the second option, there's the reset and there's the restart. You're going to want to click restart. Now, you can go into that restart menu where it says, which would you like to do? Click on advanced startup options. Then once you click on that, you can click different options for starting up or something like that. It's the second one down on the left side when you're doing it. And then once you're in there, it'll say restart, and you click restart, and then you're going to click the number 4. And that will allow you to boot into safe mode. You won't have internet when you're in safe mode, but that's okay because it doesn't really matter. Now, what you're going to want to do, on the display drivers, you're going to open up that displaydrivers.exe. Or the DDU file .exe, and that's going to run an application. Now, in this application, you're going to have a list of checkboxes. You're going to want to click all of the ones that are on the screen currently. Now, you're then going to click OK, and then after you've clicked OK, you're going to click the second from the top option on the left side with the gray boxes, and it's going to say run or delete drivers without restarting. You're going to click that twice. You're going to delete drivers without installing, delete drivers without installing, and then once you click OK, it'll take a couple of seconds each time you do that. And then you're going to go to the top option, which says delete drivers and restart. Now, it may seem a little repetitive that you're doing it 3 times, but it needs to be done so that you make sure all of the Windows drivers that it installs for any graphics processing are completely wiped. You don't want any of them, and you want to start fresh with the AMD drivers. So you're going to click restart, and once you've done it 3 times, once you've done it 2 times, then you click the restart button, and then once it deletes all of them, it'll restart your computer, and you will go on to the AMD installation part, which I believe is the bottom file in the DDU file that you found, or that you downloaded. So once you have gotten into that file, it'll get you through a whole setup process. You want to click OK, install it in the normal spot. You should be fine as far as it goes with that. Then it will restart your computer, and when it restarts your computer, you're going to want to make sure there should be a point at some spot where it asks you if you'd like it to reset something. When you say that, when it says that, be on the lookout for that, because I don't 100% remember where that was. When it says that, click on the reset button and continue. It'll restart your computer. It'll look really funky for a little bit, and then once it restarts, then you should have a couple more minutes of loading. While it says it'll probably take about 9 minutes to install your display drivers, and once it has done that, you should, in theory, be able to close out of that app. You should be able to close out of that. You should have like a new AMD software on there that's kind of neat, but not really 100% useful quite yet. And then what you're going to want to do after that is you're going to go into Device Manager. Now this is the last step, and it's a pretty easy one. So you're going to go into Device Manager, and once you're in there, you'll look down a little bit, and it should say somewhere, if you have a Mac, I think it should be Intel, and at the end part, this is the only part of that part of the numbers that matters. It'll have it'll have an X16, an X8, and an X4. Now the X8 ports are this side of your computer, the right side of your computer when you're looking at it. The left side of your computer when you're looking at it are the X8 ports, and the right side of the computer when you're looking at it are the X4 ports. Now, you have to decide which one of these you like less. Which one's more convenient for you in your setup. For me, I decided when you're looking at it, the left side, or the X8 side, was more useful, and I decided to keep that. For you, it could be the left or the right side is more useful. Whichever one you decide, probably. Then once you decide if you want the X8 or the X4s more, you will disable the ability for it to use either the X4 or the X8 side. Now, once you've decided, you can then restart your computer, and you should theoretically get a working Windows eGPU set up through your Mac. Now, if you weren't 100% clear on that, I will write down all of my steps in the description as detailed as I possibly can. I'll link all of the links, and I will and I will try my best to respond to any comments on this video, because I do know the struggle that you are likely going through if you're watching this video, because it is very difficult, very, very difficult to get an AMD graphics card running on Windows on a Mac. It is a discouraging process, but it is possible, and to those people that say it's not, it's really frustrating to see those people say that, because it's really discouraging, but once you eventually get it, it's very rewarding, and you'll have, in this case, the most reliable setup for Windows on an eGPU through a Mac. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for this video. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and also please share with your friends, because, you know, sharing is caring.